let's talk about what's happening over at Fox News, as we like to do. Check in to get a sense of what the heartbeat of the country is, what the pulse of the country is, by watching Fox and Friends on a daily basis.
Well, it's certainly the pulse of Trump's mind. He is the Fox News president, and so it's actually a good a barometer for Trump's mentality to look at Fox.
There, I did see a tweet actually suggesting that any newsroom that does not have a reporters on the beat of what's going on in the right wing media sphere and social media sphere is doing their viewers or their listeners a disservice. And of course, we always like to check in on Fox News. It gives us one level of what's going on in these fever swamps. Here's Ainsley Earhardt, now looking, God bless you, looking. I
muted just in time.
Looking for us to have a little sympathy for folks.
There are 75 million people that voted for President Trump, and they're scared. They're worried about what the future of this country looks like. Many of them...
They're confused.
They are. They're confused. They're heartbroken that their candidate didn't win, and they don't want to be forgotten. And Tucker Carlson really hit home with this last night. Listen.
I wonder, Brendan, could you pull up the clip that shows Ainsley Earhardt expressing such sympathy for the people who voted for Hillary Clinton? There were, if I remember correctly, 3 to 4 million more people voted for Clinton than Trump in the last election. Could you pull up that clip? We don't have a clip like that. Of course, it never happened. And to be honest, look, I understand, but I understood in 2016 when people were upset about Donald Trump winning the election. Obviously the guy was under investigation at that time. And I have never come across even those folks who are very concerned about how much time was spent on reporting on that investigation. I've never come across anybody who didn't think that the investigation wasn't warranted. And I've never, even the biggest critics have said, some to me personally, that investigation was warranted. Despite all that, there were people who I think reacted to the election in ways that I thought maybe, at least performatively were a little bit overboard. The idea that anyone would have had any sympathy for people who crashed into the Capitol buildings with zip ties, looking obviously like when you come in with a handful of zip ties, specifically cuff ties, you're obviously going in there to hold hostages.
100%.
And the idea that there would have been anybody in the media, in any corner of any media at any time, expressing sympathy in the wake of this for people's, inability to handle the election results, so that it drove them to cause a riot that killed the deaths of 5 people.
I mean, we saw the expression of sadness and rage from the majority of people that voted for Hillary Clinton through the women's marches throughout the country. I mean, they were record-breaking marches, and they were incredibly impactful and cathartic for a lot of people. No violence there, no breaking into government buildings and smearing feces on the wall. It's currently being reported that was done. All of the horrific things, the defacing of the Capitol building and the sitting in Pelosi's seat. I mean, can you imagine if anyone on the left did something equivalent? The reality is that the ideologies are so differing that would never happen. But the sympathy that's being showed to them, like Ben Shapiro was drinking a cup that said liberal tears. I mean, there are compilation videos of people who supported Hillary Clinton on the internet that get tens of millions of views because they're crying and they're upset after Trump's win. They relished in the fact that Hillary Clinton supporters were upset because their candidate won. And now Ainsley Earhardt is saying that sympathy should be expressed for the, in some cases, terrorists, at the very least insurrectionists who broke into the Capitol building yesterday. It's interesting where she reserves her sympathy.
Yes, it certainly is.